Imagine that you are lying on your back at a 10-degree angle with your feet elevated above your head. A cloth is placed over your face and water is then poured over your face without being able to fight back. Your first reaction is to start gagging and you feel like you're going to vomit, but you can't. You're technically dry drowning. This is called waterboarding, and this is just one method of torture used by the U.S. today. Viewpoints differ greatly on whether or not torturing suspected terrorists should be used for information and whether it's immoral. The three topics that I'm going to be discussing today is information, innocence, and immorality. So my first topic is information. Many people believe that the information that we're getting from these terrorists is not worth it because it's inaccurate. The article History and Debate of Torture says that the person undergoing torture does not have an ultimate goal of supplying accurate information. Instead, their main goal is simply to stop the torture. Victims have also been interviewed, and they have even said that sometimes they intentionally mix false information with the information that they give to confuse the interrogators. Those that are for torture, though, say that any information is better than no information, and even though some of it can be false, some of it can be true, and that it can quickly be checked in a database. We also sometimes even find information that's unknown, and that the interrogator didn't know the right questions to ask to get those answers. We also don't know whether or not the suspected terrorist is innocent or guilty. Since torture can often go on for an indefinite amount of time, you might actually even end up killing them. You don't really want to be pegged as a murderer. Those that are innocent also have more potential to be punished more brutally. They can't supply their interrogators with the answers that they're looking for to stop the torture, so therefore the interrogators continue on with the torture. Those that are for torture, though, say that it's the innocence of that person is just something that we have to risk. The article Torture is Just a Means of Preventing Terrorism says that if you consider the possibility of so many people dying and the risk that the situation is real and not hypothetical, an interrogator can be justifiably excused for torturing an innocent. So that leads to my next topic, which is immorality. People say that it's against all human rights to torture anybody and that we should not do it. Block says that Article 5 of the UN Declaration of Human Rights says that no one shall be subjected to torture or cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. The block also goes on to say that torture is illegal under the Geneva Conventions. Those that are for torture, though, say that torture is only a way, or the only way that we have of getting information from those suspected terrorists, and we're doing this only to save lives and in self-defense. When the Geneva Conventions are brought up, they fight back by saying Geneva Conventions only apply to prisoners of war, not spies or terrorists. They also go on to say that what we're doing to those suspected terrorists is not anything compared to what is done to our U.S. soldiers. There are many things to think about when you're trying to decide whether or not torture is good in our country. One point is whether or not the the information is actually worth it. Many people think it's not because it's mostly inaccurate. Other people think that it is because even though we might get some inaccurate information, some of it's going to be true. What if the person is actually innocent? You don't know if they're guilty, so you don't want to be torturing an innocent person. But others say that it's just the risk we have to take to get information that we need. And what if the person is or is it immoral? Many people say that it's against all human rights to torture somebody, and others say that we're only acting in self-defense and that we should continue using torture. So there are many pros and cons to this topic, but the pros
Do you know if there's any kind of, I'm gonna call it fact finding to the information they receive from tortured victims, people?
They do find some things out that are true, and like, say they have somebody held captive that they're trying to find out like where they placed the bomb or something, and they found like somebody that they knows where the bomb is. It's like they can find out information through the torture where the bomb is to save those people. Tristan?
Has there been like a lot of instances where like torture's gone wrong and there's been like accidental death as well as just
Well, a lot of times I mean not a lot, but sometimes it actually does end in death, which is why they sometimes end up like being murderers, but they're never convicted of that because they're working for the U.S.
Is there a way to find out if like the person they're torturing is innocent before they actually torture them?
No, usually they are just making assumptions. Sometimes they know for sure that the person is guilty, but other times they're just like, they have an idea that this person's guilty and they don't know for sure. Sam?
So like, can a person that's like before they be tortured or whatever, could they ever be like tried, find out if they're guilty or not, or usually like they get tortured and then they're tried, or is there anything related to that?
I don't really know for sure. I assume that they could try the person, but a lot of times they're acting like they're trying to find information out quickly and they don't really have time for a trial.
Alright, we're gonna have to stop there. Thank you.